Right, good evening everyone. Welcome to this evening's webinar. I'm Sarah from Breast Funds England, for anyone who hasn't met me yet online. So lovely to see some familiar faces, or some familiar names even, back again for another session. So for anyone who didn't make it to the first webinar that we did last week, which was all about creating your crowdfunder page, then if you're a part of the Save Our Breast Funds Facebook support group, then you'll be able to find a recording there, but I'll also post it in the chat this evening, so you'll have access to it. I know there's a handful of people on tonight whose bands haven't got to the point of actually creating the page yet, which is absolutely fine, but I definitely recommend that you go back and watch that first video, because that will really help you get in that process. The campaign launch date is 2 weeks from today, so you've got a little bit of time, but it will go really, really quickly. So I'd recommend that again you have a look at the page that we've set up, that's got all of the resources on there, the marketing playbook, all those things like that. There's loads and loads of resources that the crowdfunder team have put together, so take a look at that, because it will really, really help you get in a place where you're really ready to launch on that day and you've got some stuff already ready to go, which is where we want to be. So I'm joined this evening by Thea and Duncan from Crowdfunder. Hi guys.
Hey everyone.
Hi. How are you both doing?
All good. Getting ready for lockdown 2.
Lockdown 2.0. Yes, yeah. We're ready for it. So everyone in the chat, I'm going to hand over to these guys very shortly, but please do throw any questions that you've got about anything we're talking tonight into the Q&A. We'll come to them as we go through this, and then we'll have time for a little quick fire round at the end to answer any questions that come in. But please pop the questions into Q&A and any comments you have in the chat. But yeah, I'll hand over to Thea and Duncan.
Thank you, Sarah. Hi guys. So I'm Thea, I'm a crowdfunder coach, and I specialise in charity marketing, and that's what we're here to talk about, so that's a good start. So in this session we'll be covering how to create a successful crowdfunding promotion. So last session we looked at how to create a great page, and this is all about promotion. So if you could just pop your names in chat, that would be really helpful, so we can see who we've got here today. Duncan can just put a little note of who we've got on board, and that'll be fab. So a quick intro to the campaign. Some of you hopefully joined our session last week, but if not, no worries. As Sarah said, you can catch that in the Facebook group. If you did join, you'll be aware that we've got a national Save Our Brass Bands campaign page, which is what we're looking at here on the screen. So that's already live, and this is where we're going to be inviting you all to create your own individual crowdfunder pages. The idea behind this is that together we're much stronger and we can create more of a media buzz. So for example, the National Save Our Theatres campaign has so far raised over 1.1 million for 60 theatres around the UK, and that's from over 18,000 supporters. So as you can see, when we join forces, we really can do big things. So for your campaign, we'll be providing central marketing assets to support each project owner to achieve success. And these include press releases, which again, together have a much bigger impact when we all share them together at the same time, and you guys with your network as well. That really helps to drive traffic to the campaign page. So next slide, please, Duncan. Here we can see some of the pages that are already live. They actually are what spurred us to create this national campaign. So we started seeing some pages going live and having success on Crowdfunder, and we thought, wait a minute, there's a bit of a trend here. So the campaign is really based around that. So as and when your pages go live on the launch date, which is the 17th November, you will see your page automatically appear on this campaign page here. So we're hoping obviously to help as many bands as possible, so do please speak with friends and others in your community and see if they'd like to join and create a page here too, and all the resources are available online for support if they've missed them. So next slide please, Doug. So in terms of the activities to do, the nitty gritty, we've got a couple of weeks until launch. As I mentioned, it's the 17th of November, so 2 weeks today. What we're looking at today is how to sort of help you create that marketing plan, and you'll need to think about lining up your first 10% of pledges, and perhaps also do a Facebook Live launch events, which is always, you know, a great way to launch your campaign. So you've got a couple of weeks to think about that. And then also we'll be looking at how to promote your page out through all the mediums that you have available to you, all those different channels, as well as via partners as well. So when you're live, you should be engaging with your dashboard too and checking progress, and then also tweaking your marketing activities to maximise your donations. But Duncan's going to tell you a little bit more about that side of things shortly. Next slide, please. So in terms of a network map, the first step of any successful crowdfunder is to really work out who your network is. So just working around this, it's a good idea to identify who's closest to you. You could even rank them 1 to 4. So for example, those in your project team, in your band, your friends, your family, you'd often speak to them about the crowdfunder via word of mouth. So they're your sort of inner crowd, your inner network. And then you want to work out to those number 2s. So who knows you within the community, perhaps some colleagues, some friends that are on, you know, not close friends, but those sort of friends that you speak to now and again, and perhaps further flung family members as well. And then thinking really around, you know, which partners you might be able to involve in your promotion, any businesses that you might be connected to. Perhaps there's music businesses out there that you could link in and ask to share your page. So, and sort of reaching the outer element of your crowd, these are people that you don't know personally. These are people that you might reach via Facebook advertising or via PR. And really with crowdfunding, you want to start with that inner circle and then work your way out to the wider group there. We have got a playbook, as Sarah's mentioned, where you can make a log of all these possible supporters, all those people that sit somewhere within your crowd. It's important to think about who they are and how you're going to talk to them, what messaging you're going to use. You might want to use a mixture of word of mouth, emails to people that you know, tailor some nice emails. There might be WhatsApp groups that you can infiltrate, Facebook Messenger, and also lots of success people have had with Facebook groups as well. That's really worth looking at. And then in terms of media, obviously you can think about, radio connections. Are there some bloggers? Do you know any celebrity endorsers, or newspapers and journos and those kind of people that will share your message via their media? So just moving on to looking at your network a bit more. So here's a bit of a timeline between your first week of your campaign through to the 4th week there at the end. So over the 4-week campaign, initially you're aiming to get backing from those that are really close to you, your number ones, you're the people that are in that inner network, your team, your friends, your family and existing supporters. So that's the first stage there in week 1, or ideally before that. And then you're just going to work your way out of your network towards those that you know less well. So as I just covered, sort of looking at those categories, the 1s, the 2s, the 3s and the 4s, and just thinking about how you approach each of those categories of people, and you're going to make of them each time as well. It's also important to try and leverage your crowd. So not only do you know your inner network of people, your ones, but they all also have a crowd. So think about asking them to share that you have, just put a little plug to try and get them to be sharing your page as well. So There's also an approach, if you look in the play, the email example, there's an approach you can take there with asking businesses to share, and also trying to get on sort of their newsletters as well. That's quite an effective approach that you can take there. So it's really about maximising and leveraging your network and their crowd as well. So
yeah, we're just missing one or two words. The message is coming across, but it might be worth turning video off just for bandwidth purposes.
Okay, sure.
Cool.
Okay, so reaching out to your supporters, again, it's really worth sort of planning this all in advance. Got a couple of weeks now, so have a think about those personal emails that you plan to send. Perhaps write some content. What kind of business emails can go out, and what kind of art could it be that you approach business them for rewards, for example, and then ask for them to share on their newsletters. That does work well. And think about your Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram messaging. So with this side of things, the social media, we do have a posting plan which we put together, which again is in the playbook. So that will give you loads of great ideas around content that you can use to reach your supporters via those different social media channels. So do please use the resources. They are there to help you. Great, so hopefully this gets a few giggles. In terms of fundraisers, when you are reaching out to supporters, it might well pay off to consider who in a crowd might be up for doing a fundraising page for you. So by using our multiplier mode, you can turn a £50 potential donor into a £500 fundraiser. So, fundraisers can also sell your, so we call it a parent-child model. So as a brass band, you would have your parent page, and then any fundraisers would have sort of and they would then be able to contribute to your total amount raised, but also sell your rewards for you. So it's fundraising with a twist, because they're not asking just for straight up donations, they're actually selling your reward offering out to their crowd. So it's a great way to multiply your crowd, really. And I think, Duncan, you had some ideas for the sorts of things for fundraisers. We've got here the 24-hour tubathon, for example, or a fancy dress sponsored performance. Did you have a few other ideas? I don't recall.
I think there's one of the things I really like that works really well is if you get sections competing against each other. So if you can get the different sections of the band to set up a fundraiser each, if you can challenge them to do that, see if the cornets can raise more than the horns and the horns raise more than the baritone section, you get the idea. You usually find that little sense of competition really helps, but it doesn't just have to be people in the band. So we really like seeing the junior sections getting involved in this bit, whether it's the opposite, a 24-hour sponsored silence, or something that gets them out and about, obviously sticking to lockdown laws and all of those things. But I think probably the thing that I like most of all, because of the time of year we're doing it, is something to do with caroling and getting out on the, going and visiting people in the community and playing outside their doors. That kind of thing I think works really well. How many people can go and play carols to, or how many times can you play Away in a Manger in 24 hours? Those kind of things always raise lots of money and do really well, and add a bit of sense of fun to fundraising, as you mentioned on the page. Great,
thanks. Some brilliant ideas there. Fab. So now just onto a bit more about social media. So you should really aim for a social media post to go out every day of the campaign, and try to make the content as varied, relevant audience that you're targeting as possible. So the more it resonates, the better, as that will result in donations. And also you're looking for shares and retweets from people that perhaps aren't in a position to donate. Always remember to ask for some retweets there as well. can find influencers with good follower numbers, then do please try and get them involved. Find people that have a reason to care about your campaign and ask them to share the page and messaging via their channels, because if they've got some big numbers, that's going to really help to increase your reach. We've actually already created a list of influencers, which Sarah's going to share with you after the session. So there's a list of people there that you could potentially think about tagging in, some different organisations, just to get their attention about what we're all doing together to save brass bands. So one of the top tips here is remember to tag us, Crowdfunder, into any special tweets. For example, if you do have local celebrities, then let me know and we can give you a cheeky retweet. And our Facebook handle is just @Crowdfunder, or it's at Crowdfunder UK on Twitter. So they're just at the bottom there.
Just a point from me on that one, Thea. I think local is king here. So who is it that really cares about the band locally? So those influencers, particularly locally, whether they be businesses, press, as Thea's mentioned, I think it's really critical. I think that's going to fly really well for particularly the brass band world, that local is king. We have a statistic that says over 70% of your donations will come from within a 10-mile radius of your community. So if that gives you a clue.
Brilliant. So in terms of social media assets, this is another element that we've done for you with the campaign. So we've popped together some visuals that you can pop onto social, as well as the wording. And again, Sarah can provide these visuals to you after the session. So please do use the assets provided, as well as making your own. Remember, you can use, there's all sorts of useful tools out there that you can use. For example, you can use Pablo to add text to images that you can obtain from like Unsplash, for example. So do make the use of these free tools online. Okay, in terms of emails, it's really important to think about how to make it personal and relevant to the different audiences that you're targeting. Of course, use MailChimp if you've got a large distribution and need to get a lot of emails out in one hit, but remember to sort of customize them using first names and that kind of thing. The other approach that's really useful with emails is just to change your signature during the duration of the campaign. Just change your signature, and those that are in your band, make sure they're including a link to the page with a little bit of content about why you're fundraising. That's really quite a handy way to drive traffic. And a couple more points. So just remember, people won't always respond straight away to emails, so do send a polite chaser and remember to always say thank you. Try to vary your contents. So for example, one email could focus on attracting fundraisers, so think about who those fundraisers might be and just one push around creating some fundraisers on your page. Some of the ideas maybe that Duncan's just provided earlier. And you can think about your business emails being slightly different around, could those businesses share with their staff? Could they provide a reward? You could do some kind of cross promotion with local businesses that have a reason to care as well. So yeah, just really think about who your audience is and the best way of approaching them. Thank you. So in terms of press and blogs, so as I mentioned earlier, we'll be sharing a press release when the time's right during the campaign, which you guys please feel free to edit, add in the details of your crowdfunder, your URL, and any other details that are relevant to your particular campaign, and then please do distribute that out to your local press contacts, and we'll see this big uplift in PR over that period of time. So with the timing of that, it's really important that there's already momentum going before we go to press. So that's why we'll provide you with the initial content at the right time. And we do have an exciting announcement to make as part of that as well, but that's more about that later. So just to give you a little example, when we did this with Save the Theatres campaign, we had something like 40 local press articles written, which drove a huge amount of traffic through to the campaign page. So the uptake in PR really was large for that. So that's why we have that strategy in place. And it's also worth thinking about really including some great quality images in those press releases, if you can, and if you know any people that, any bloggers that could potentially do some coverage on your campaign, it's well worth reaching out to them in the 2 weeks that you have now. Great, so creating updates. This is something I'm going to pass over to Duncan to give you a little bit more detail there, and we'll reconvene at the end.
Brilliant. Thanks, Thea. So I'm going to whip through a few slides. This one's really important about updating people. One of the things we see so often on Crowdfunder is projects launch and then they don't, other than telling people that it's live, they don't give people updates. We've got another statistic that 84% of supporters said they love receiving project updates and it's important to them. But we also know that people will give again and again, and they'll share it again and again. So if you're updating people that have pledged on your project, and then you tell them, hey guys, we're halfway there, or we've completely sold out of our reward of going to Carol on the street corner, they'll share that. It's really good content that people like sharing with their wider network. And what you'll find is the first 30%, 40% of money that comes in will come from those number ones and twos that Thea talked about, the people closest to you and the band. But then you'll find the next bit of money comes from people that they share it with. So they become your main ambassadors. And one thing I was just thinking about when Thea was talking about the emails, if you've got 30 people in your band and you can get each of them to send 10 emails to people and get them to donate, you get to your target really quickly. So our average donation size is nearly £50 on Crowdfunder. But let's just say 10 people, 30 people in about 30 people running, introduce 10 people at £20 each, you've got £6,000 straight off the bat. So try and break it down and give the band members those, look, here's 10 emails, find 10 people to give this email to. But then when you've got people in, make sure you're doing those updates. So it doesn't have to be daily. Daily's good. When I did a Crowdfunder, I was doing a sponsored bike ride, and every time I went on a training ride, I did an update video. So you can do a little selfie video and go, this is brutal, I'm up at 6 o'clock in the morning, this is terrible, and this is what's happened. Get the guys that are fundraising and people that are doing that, just to really give some good updates into people. What I'm just going to talk you through now is just some other tools that we give you. I'm going to go really fast because this will make more sense once you've got a live page rather than pre-live. But it's just to let you know what's there for you when you are live. And this is all stuff that is a marketing person's dream. So if you're into data and you care about, if I do this, what happens, but if I do this, what happens, then you're going to love this. So we give you a dashboard if you're the project owner, and you can see what conversion is happening. So if you do one of those updates, as an example, you can see who starts giving. Or if you send emails out, you can see who's giving. If you do a social post, you can see who starts giving, and you can see who's coming, viewing your page, and who's not giving. So you can think, oh, maybe we haven't got our message quite right. Let's change the message. Let's bring something more up front. And what you'll find is you can do different messages. So you can say, help save our brass band could be a message one day, whereas the next day you might say, buy this reward, a Christmas Carol concert that in your street, and we've got 6 of them, and you can see what kind of response rate you get, and you'll be able to see all of this in your dashboard. You can see who is giving and where they're coming from. So you can see here that anything we do through Facebook, you get loads of pledges, but the value of people coming directly through our own site, when you point people at it, perhaps through an email, you can see that actually the value of the donation, when people are just sent straight to Crowdfunder through your emails, is far larger. So you can see what's working for you, and then you can adjust your strategy accordingly. So it's worth making sure you understand the dashboard once you go live. You can see how many people are coming to your page. So we tell you all of that. So whatever you did on the Gosh, that looks like, you know, the end of March here, or the 1st of April. It went really well. Everything else we did didn't have quite the same desired effect. So you can see the different things. So keep a log of what you're doing on what day, because you'll be able to see what difference that's making. But I won't go on too much more about the dashboard. We get the idea that we're going to give you lots of data so that you can manage your campaign appropriately. Okay, so let me just summarize a bit what you've heard, because then we're just going to take a break so that we can hear your questions, in case you're asking questions, or we're telling you stuff you don't want to know and you've actually got other questions. That's always important. So number one, consider how you can get your current network behind your project. Who are they? Who can you get working for you? How can you break it down into manageable chunks? And how can you leverage those relationships to get to a new crowd? Who is it that cares in the community that your band exists? Is it the parents of the junior section? Is it the various venues that you use around the town? Is it the council care because you always turn up to an opening of something? Who is it that really cares that your band exists, and make sure that they're in your number ones and number twos, as Thea outlined. Number two, make sure you're using social media, email, press, blogs. Get the message out there. Don't just rely on one form of communication. Make sure that you're using all of them. Make sure you're doing those updates regular throughout the 4-week project. It doesn't have to be daily, but 2 or 3 times a week I would advocate for, minimum once a week, if that's your bare minimum. And then obviously I've just taught you through the dashboard, which is a really amazing tool to see what is it that's working for us, because it actually is different for every project. It depends on your relationships and who you're speaking to as to what's really working. So Thea and I will take a break, and Sarah, I think you've been looking after the Q&A, and is there anything that you haven't been able to answer that we can be of help in? So
one from Charlotte, just about website technical things, so I don't know if you will be able to answer it. Said that she's added a header picture to their page today, but it's now disappeared when she's reloaded it. Is that just something that she needs to go in and add it in again?
Sounds a glitch. I'd try it again. Yeah. If not, our support desk can help with that. So there's a little support button there that we can help you with. We'll give you those details at the end on our last slide.
Perfect. Laura just is asking if you can give any more examples of fundraising ideas. That'll be really, really helpful. One that we thought of before, which we thought would be really funny, was to record someone's least favourite carol, so that someone could pledge money to send someone a recording of their least favourite carol, which I thought was absolutely brilliant.
That's a bit cruel.
I know.
I think about old members of the band, people who have been part of the band before, whether they would go and do some fundraising. I mean, it's everything from bake sales to, it can be cycling. We saw someone cycling around town with their instrument and playing, just going wherever people would sponsor them to go and play. I think obviously to take the Christmas theme, I think that's a really nice thing because of the time of year, whether it's caroling or whether it's turning up outside of a school. Parents might pay for you to go and turn up outside of school because they're not doing their normal pantos or Christmas carol services. So maybe being in the playground, and playing to the kids while they're in their classrooms, or something that's appropriate during lockdown. All of those kind of things I think would work really well. Maybe you could get sponsored to go and play outside the hospital on Christmas Eve or something. The world's your oyster. I think it could be anything from running a marathon to eating how many sausages you can eat in an hour. Those kind of things are all good fun. Sitting in baked beans.
Yeah, I think just to point on lockdown playing and stuff, we're putting out an update this evening about the new guidance. We've been in contact with DCMS this week, so we've got a bit more clarity on that now. So just have a look at the Facebook page or our website after that, and I'll give you a bit more details about that. But also bear in mind that the rewards and stuff, you don't have to do that right now. That could be a reward that you deliver in Easter or in summer. So don't worry too much about stuff that you physically have to do at the moment, because it might be that you can do it later on, and stuff like the lockdown recordings and all those kind of things that people have been doing at the moment, that might be something to think about instead.
And do join the Save Our Brass Bands Facebook group, because I think that's where creativity will get going, because there's no harm in us all copying each other's fundraising efforts and rewards, because, you know, essentially we're using different audiences. I think it's not like we're all competing for the same pound.
Yeah, real. Thea, did you want to jump in on that question from it's actually Martin, not Charlotte, who had a question about the header picture?
Yes, hi Martin. Just with that, you can only have one or the other. So if you're putting a video in, then I suggest moving the header picture down into the main page, so that you can have both.
Yeah, so on the actual header of the page, you can have a video or an image, but in the main body of the page, you can put either or in later on. Is that right? Yeah, brilliant.
And your updates can be video or text as well when you're doing your updates, which is good.
Perfect. And then Christine, still not able to access the page. Is that you're not able to access where you create your own page? If you just want to elaborate on that, that would be really, really helpful, and then we can sort you out with that. Okay, anyone else have any further questions? Now is your chance while Duncan and Thea are here.
Okay, well, while they're coming in, let me do a quick what next. So after this, you're going to get both this deck, the playbook, which is the kind of how to run a successful crowdfunding campaign. If you follow that, I guarantee you'll have a good time. We literally can tell who's read it and who hasn't. You know, it's a bit like making IKEA furniture. If you follow the playbook, it's likely to go well. If you don't, your shelf might be in the wrong place and it might not go so well. We'll also send around the social media assets, those little social tiles that you can use in your own Facebook and Twitter accounts, etc. And we'll send around the list of potential influencers and hashtags that we're going to be using for this campaign. There will be a recording of this webinar and the previous two that we've done that you can revisit and have a look at. Make sure you've joined the Facebook group, hashtag Save Our Brass Bands. That's where we can share good ideas, where some of the coaching will happen en masse, which will be you'll find really useful. We will share a press release that will be pinging out there to all the major outlets, but also that you can then use locally with your local radio stations and local rags, etc. And just take everything you've learned and share it with your band. Try and get a team going around this. I know what it's like. Those that are busy are the ones that say yes, and you guys will crack on and do it anyway. But the more you can share it out, the easier it will be, because it's going to be a tough month over the next month for everyone for various reasons. Make sure you're involving as many people as you possibly can, so that it doesn't become a chore. It becomes something really fun.
Real. Celebrity ambassador is mentioned. Can you say who it is yet? We were so hopeful that we were going to be able to announce it. Like, we are literally just crossing a few T's and just go backs and forwards, just confirming a few bits. It will be this week. I'm committing that it will be this week that we announce it. So if you haven't heard it, chase us up on it. It will be this week. And then so Christine, okay. Cool. So Thea, if you're right to leave that with you.
Sure. Yeah, Christine, I will follow up again with Charlie and just get to the bottom of what's going on with your password. I'll do that tomorrow. Okay.
Real. Thanks, guys. Okay, I think that's all the questions that we've had in. Thank you for everyone who's come along. As I say, anyone who had to nip off early or thinks that there's other people that would that would benefit in watching this video, do share it with them when it's posted up in the group and stuff like that. because, you know, the more people that we can get on board with this, the more successful it's going to be for everyone. Really, the power of this campaign is if we've got traction with lots of bands across the country. That's how this is going to be really, really successful. So in the next couple of weeks, we definitely need just to make sure that there's lots of people who understand the benefit of what we're doing here. We're going to be doing a lot more work on that in terms of putting some blogs out, some more videos and stuff like that. But the more you can help us with that as well, the better. So thank you so much for coming. We'll keep the brass bands, the page on the BB website up to date with new resources and all that kind of stuff. Kenny, did you want to say anything final before we finish up tonight? You're still there.
I am still here, and I hope you can hear me. Just to say thanks to everybody who's getting involved in this great campaign. We are keeping everybody in suspense about the celebrity endorsee, but we, as Sarah said, we will have this resolved in the next, hopefully in the next 24 hours. Let's set that target, but if it's not 24, it'll be 48, 72. But we are getting on with that. But really, thanks for everybody, especially the guys at Crowdfunder, for providing this great opportunity for bands to do their own thing and to make their own impact in their own communities. And the more you can do in there, the more you'll help each other as well across the whole country. It's a great opportunity for brass bands across the whole of the UK to really show a bit of solidarity with each other and help each other guarantee some sort of future at this pretty miserable time for everybody. So good luck with it all. Thanks again to Duncan and Thea for all their help.
Pleasure. And
everybody else that's at your end, and also to Sarah. And we're glad to see Parky back in action today as well. He's been on the call, but he's just sitting in the background there. And with that, I think I'll just pass you back to Duncan. I think you're just going to wind up. Is that right?
I think we're done. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Do be in touch.
Bye, folks. See you soon.